Hello, everyone. So it sounds like D2L is back up and running. What we've been told is that the developers and our Microsoft technicians and our IT people are all cautiously optimistic, which means that they believe that D2L is not going to go down again this semester, but at the same time, they have concerns and they're a little worried about what may happen because there might still be some bugs in there. So for this class and really any class where you have anything due on D2L here over the next 3 weeks, I highly recommend that you save these things onto your computer hard drive first. So create Word files, Excel files, PowerPoint, etc. Save those things for yourself before you go and post things onto discussion boards. Basically, take care of yourself. One of those sort of resounding messages that I've given to you all semester. Be sure that you're safe, that you have everything you need, that if something happens in our online medium, that you're going to get full credit for whatever it was you were doing. And if you've got it saved, there's probably a time date on it so you can prove that you did do the work in that time. We should probably also thank D2L for pointing out the major design flaw in my own course, in that we're pretty much beholden to D2L. And what would happen if the thing went down for 2 weeks? Like, I don't have any backup set up right now. So I've learned a lesson from the process, and I think I'll have like a Google Docs backup or start looking into some other technologies where we can shift the class over for a week or two should we absolutely positively have to. Uh, Along the lines of cautiously optimistic with D2L, I do have all your grades set up in an Excel file, but I'm going to wait another few days to make sure it's safe to post them, because I did put things up earlier or late last week, and they disappeared when after Saturday's routine maintenance popped up and all these issues started happening. So I'm just a little worried that that may happen again, and I'm not going to take any chances with it and waste anybody's time. But don't worry, everything's going to be fine. I'm going to make sure you get everything that you deserve, and I do keep not just a set of grades there in D2L, but I also keep them saved in my hard drive too, just to be sure. So this is it. This is our last week of discussion, and sure, we're starting it a little bit later than usual, but no big deal. Like, there's still plenty of time left in the semester, and I think we've got things set up so you're going to be just fine. This last week of discussion is completely and totally set up to help you with your final paper, your final project materials. So if you take everything to heart and really work on it this week, you're going to have stuff that's already set up to plug right into your final application development paper as you move into the last week of class. So let's take a look at the materials. So we'll go through a little bit of the discussion paper, the development paper, which I know you've all looked at very carefully, but there's a couple things I just want to point out and be sure. And then we'll look at discussion, and I'm going to turn you loose on it. And if you've got questions, you can, of course, always email me. I'm happy to chat with you with Skype, as I've done with so many of you this semester. If Skype's not working, FaceTime works just fine. I don't really have any qualms about giving you my phone number. Hasn't backfired on me yet. I'm sure sooner or later I'm going to start getting weird phone messages in the middle of the night from like strange Russian websites or something, but whatever. Like, I'm willing to take that chance to make sure you guys get what you need. So if you don't have a copy of your syllabus pulled up, pause the video and pull that up and go to, I believe, page 7. Let's take a look here. Yeah, page 7. So get that set up so that you can follow along as we work through. And then here we go. So the purpose of this project is to develop an application that uses theories and concepts covered in the course to optimize communication technology use. You are highly encouraged to use the research from the annotated bibliography assignment, which is why it was assigned. And this project consists of 3 parts. And you've really looked through the first part already, and if you've been keeping up in your discussion posts, you may actually have almost all of that done, which you can plug into the second writing portion. And let's just move into part 2 of the instructions. So you write a 4 to 5 page paper detailing the features of your development and explaining how these features relate to course concepts. Paper should contain 2 parts. First, it should review the contemporary research relevant to the application you developed. So this is really similar to what you did with the case study paper, which is one of those reasons why I have assigned the case study paper earlier in the semester, so that you can get used to finding and reviewing literature. So you need a literature review, and that's going to be probably 2 pages. All right, so you have a page to a half page of introduction, then you go into literature review, and If you're still working with the same materials that you used in the annotated bibliography assignment, that's your literature right there. So go and pull out all that stuff that you wrote for me a few weeks ago, put that into your paper, and there's less work that you need to worry about right then and there. Okay? Then the second part describes the application, how you develop it, and why it will be effective. And it's based on that research that you're reviewing. So you continue to pull forward those ideas. Don't just completely write two separate parts and hope that the two work together. Integrate them as you would in any academic paper. So you go through and you work through the ideas that you've been talking about in your discussions here the past few weeks, like how your application is going to work, what you want it to do, where you want to go with it, and you pull in those ideas from the literature review, explain why your application is important, you explain what it's going to do, and then you explain how it would work. And I know it kind of feels weird when you go through and do the literature review because you're not really talking about your application paper, but that does come in very strongly in the second half. So, introduction, literature review of relevant materials, and then go through the application itself and then give us a conclusion. With any luck, by the end of this week, you'll have probably 2 to 3 pages already written when you pull all these things from your discussion assignments, when you pull stuff from this week's discussion. And then finally, you create an online pitch. So we're going to do a video. I've had you do a couple of video recordings already this semester, and I hope that you're ready to get out and do that again. This is a 5 to 7 minute pitch, and I really want you to stay in that realm. I've gotten a couple of 15-minute pitches, which is too long. Like nobody's going to want to. Oh, excuse me. Many people will not want to sit through that long of a pitch. You really only have a short amount of time to sell it, and going underneath of it may not give you enough time to really sell it. And as you look through the instructions down here, it says you can use all sorts of things within reason. If you want to do a PowerPoint slide presentation where you annotate things on top of it, if you want to do a screencast like you see me doing with this particular technology, that's particularly fine. If you need inspiration, sort of half jokingly, half seriously put in a link to an episode of Shark Tank down here because it's very similar to the pitches that you see on that show where you're selling somebody on this idea and hoping that they will back it. Now, because this is just an assignment of the class doesn't necessarily mean you can't take it forward. If you feel really confident with this, we're really comfortable with the materials, you may find somebody interested in working with it. And there are a lot of application development people out there that are looking for new ideas, for new ways to connect with people, and honestly, ways to make a little bit more money. If your application can do that for them, why not pitch it to them? So think about that as you're working through that. When you go through down at the bottom, it just has the parameters, like how many pages, double space, New York Times, Times New Roman, 12-point point, etc. Be sure that you keep your paper within the rules that are applied here. Please be sure that you create a video pitch. Every semester, it seems like I have a couple of people that just don't bother to create the video. And as you see right down here, it's worth 20 points out of your 70. Now, if you feel you can survive without those points, you don't need them, more power to you. Go ahead and do that. Figure things out however you want. But at the same time, it's easy points, and certainly creating a video that you're not proud of is still better than having nothing. And you've got plenty of time between now and when it's due on the 11th of May. So let's look at this week's discussion. We are, of course, a little bit behind, so your original post was not, in fact, due last night. I hope you saw all of the emails from me. We'll have our first post due this Sunday, and then responses due next Wednesday, and then your final paper is due the week after that. You got a couple of tasks this week. I want you to write a written pitch of your application. This would be very similar to the second half of your paper in 200 to 300 words, which should equal about 1 page of double-space font in a Word file. And again, save this to a Word file. Do yourself a favor. You don't want to lose this material in case something weird happens with D2L again. But in 200 to 300 words, give us the quick rundown of your application, like the rationale behind it, why you chose to do this, what research says, what research you might need to go and find. So look at the stuff in your annotated bibliography and pull some of those things in now. Explain to us how it works, why it's important, why it would be effective, and of course, how it relates to communication technologies, right? Because part of what we're trying to do here is improve people's lives if you take this forward. And I hope that you've got a dearth of material from throughout the semester that you can use in this particular project. And this is where it's okay to have a little bit more of yourself in the paper. Like in the literature review, you need to really be academic, almost scientific in your writing. But when we're writing a pitch, now we need to write it to somebody from someone. And from is from yourselves. You know, what work have you done? How do you feel? And then back up what you feel with those citations that you've already researched, with that material that you've been looking at. And second, I want you to create your video pitch. This is going to be the draft video pitch, unless it's absolutely perfect. But, you know, work through what you want to do with your video pitch, a full 5 to 7 minute pitch, and post both of these things up by 9 o'clock Sunday evening. Please don't wait to get started on this, of course, because you want to get these things up as quickly as possible. And then as we reply to our classmates, this is one of those weeks where it's going to be very helpful if you give us corrective feedback, suggestive feedback, some sort of helpful critique. Certainly it's nice when you say, oh, it's wonderful, I love it, I hope you do take us forward and you're doing a great job. But at the same time, that's not going to help us to improve the paper. You can include those things, but we still need, like, maybe change this in the video, or pitch it a little differently, or think about your background in the video, or within the written portion of it, you know, what more research do you think you'd like to see as a reader? Do you need a better explanation of how the application works or who it's aimed towards? These things are going to help us out quite a bit more than it's awesome, I love it, rainbows, sunshines, and unicorns. So anyways, as I said, get in touch with me if you have questions. Happy to answer those things. Let's hope the D2L keeps its word and works perfectly for us. And then look forward to about a week and a half out, I'll post some sort of video where we round out the semester and I talk about, like, what I liked about what happened, what I think I'd like to do with the course in the future. So thanks, folks, and I'll talk to you soon.